I wanted to make 3 bags in this video. Quick and easy projects I've been procrastinating for ages because my mind always craves complex dopamine projects over the simple and easy ones. So this week I rephrased simple projects into quick projects to trick my brain into finally getting started on these 3 quick and easy bags. Or well, that's what I thought when I started filming this video, but by the time I arrived at bag 3, my mind had tricked me again and turned it into a complex dopamine project after all. So this one ended up taking so long that I think it's going to be a video of its own. It's not even finished yet, but I'll cover the first 2 in this video. Let's start with bag number 1, which almost doesn't even qualify for the name bag. Might be a bit of a glorification. Okay, I'm not starting with the camera bag. Let's change from phone quality to better camera quality and give you a nice close-up of what we're working with. If you didn't notice the massive text on this thing yet, this is a Sam Splint, which is a lightweight and multifunctional splint that we bring as part of our first aid and in case of emergency gear when we're going on long hiking or climbing trips. To protect the foam from getting too busted up while carrying the splint inside my backpack, I wanted to make a simple, tight-fitting cover. If you've already been following me on Instagram for a while and have seen my earlier videos, you may know that I'm someone who doesn't like to throw stuff away. I have an entire bag filled with retired outdoor gear, like old sleeping bags, inflatable mats that have a leak, and I like to harvest trims like straps, zippers, and other hardware from broken items so I can reuse them again. This crap piece of nylon ripstop was originally the head section of a sleeping bag, and it seems like the perfect size to make a drawstring bag. The splint measured 10.5 centimeters in width and 2 centimeters in depth, which adds up to 25 centimeters overall, but you still need to add some wiggle room to that number. A safer way is to measure all the way around in one go. That way I already end up at 25.5 centimeters, which I will round up to 26 centimeters to make sure it fits. But it will be snug. Give yourself more ease if you want a more loose-fitting cover. Measuring all the way around lengthwise, again rounding up slightly, gives me a total length of 50 centimeters. Dividing both measurements by 2 gives us the final size of the drawstring bag, which doesn't include seam allowances yet, nor the tunnel for the drawstrings at the top. Normally I like to make that tunnel at least 1.5 centimeters for a drawstring bag like this, but I'm working with a limited length of material here, so I'm going to attempt 1 centimeter today. Quick side note, if you're making a drawstring bag like this and you're not limited to working with a very specific small piece of fabric, then I would recommend the double layered method where you line it in one go. Gives it such a neat and clean finish. For this one, I'm going for a single layered bag, again to save on material and a tiny bit of unnecessary weight, so I'll make it with a fold along the bottom and French seams on the side. Which means the width will be 13 centimeters plus 2 times 1.5 centimeter seam allowance, a total of 16 centimeters. And the height will be 2 times 25 centimeters plus 2 times 2.5 centimeter hem allowance for that 1 centimeter drawstring tunnel, a total of 55 centimeters in this direction. Again, I'd add more wiggle room in all directions if you're planning to make one of these for yourself. But as you can see here, 55 by 16 centimeters is literally all I got. So let's open up the seams to get that last centimeter from the seam allowance and open the other seams as well so we can lay it nice and flat. A quick press and here's our piece of 16 by 55 centimeters. Along the short edges, I'm marking 3 lines with 1 centimeter in between each, as well as a short guideline in the corners at 1.5 centimeter from the long edges. So that's the seam allowance depth. Then I'll cut at a 45-degree angle right until that intersection of the 1.5 centimeter line with the line at 3 centimeters. Next we can fold these little flaps inwards, press them in place, fold the short edge over by 1 centimeter, and again by another 1 centimeter. Press well, clip or pin in place, and off to some sewing. Backtack well at start and end and top stitch at 1 millimeter from the fold. Repeat on the other side. For French seams, fold the back closed with wrong sides together and fold the triangular flaps down towards the right side. Sew at about 6 millimeters for the first pass, which will look like this. Turn it wrong side out, give the seam a good press, and clip in place again. Sew at about 8 millimeters for the second pass, aiming right into that corner. The tension got a bit too tight in my backtack here, but it didn't feel worth redoing to me. Because the needle holes from previous attempts generally stay visible in lightweight ripstops like this, so I just decided to leave it. Added 2 short pieces of bright orange cord for the drawstrings, also from my stash of trims and hardware harvested from old gear, and sew the ends together instead of a knot. Both because I needed less length like this, I could cut them shorter than normal and reduce a tiny bit of weight that way, and because it allowed me to add an extra collar detail. Brought the blue back for the stitching. It's a tight fit, but sliding it in and out is easy enough. And I really like that tight and compact fit for packing it inside a full backpack. And of course, I love the perfect match I was able to achieve for this little bag. Even more so considering the fabric and drawstrings were scraps of reclaimed materials. And that wraps up bag 1. Let's dive into bag number 2. This next one is a pretty niche kind of bag. A rope bag specific for multi-pitch climbing. Someone showed me the Edelrid Tillit rope bag over the summer, and my first thought was, I can make that. It's literally just a big rectangle, a separating zipper, and drawstrings on both sides. I'm pretty sure I can make that. So before we even got home from that climbing trip, I had already sketched out a quick draft in my notebook. Couldn't wait to get home so I could sew up a first prototype. And as soon as we were home, I got distracted by all the other projects that live on my mind rent-free and give me more dopamine. So nothing happened for a few months. Until this week. The Edelrid bag measures 50 by 50 centimeters, which seemed a bit small for our rope, hence the second sketch on the left for a 60 by 60 centimeter version. But I decided to just stick to their dimensions and use that as a baseline reference so I can adjust as needed for a next version. From here, I never looked at those sketches again and decided to just wing it as I got along. And we'll figure out later if that was such a wise call. I grabbed a long separating zipper from my trim stash and a pretty sturdy black nylon fabric, which I believe was originally the lining of a long maxi skirt I thrifted years ago to reuse the fabric for something else. Figured I could reuse the original hem for one of the drawstring tunnels and aligned this seam right in the middle of my square. Folded it along that seam, marked the dimensions I needed, pinned the layers together and cut it out. Used the same quick and easy method I used for the drawstring bag to make the drawstring tunnels in this one, cutting diagonally into the corner, then folding the little flaps away and pressing the tunnel in place. I folded the cutout section in the other direction to create a small rectangular detail on the outside. The Edelrid Tillit bag is finished with a narrow trim on the inside, likely some twill tape or lightweight webbing of some sorts. I didn't want to use too many trims on this first prototype, so I just tucked the raw edges into the tunnel to hide them that way. I changed my mind on reusing the original hem, because it was sewn with some ugly transparent thread. Took it out after all so I could restitch it with black thread, then prepared the same tunnels on the other side with a cutout in the middle. Secured the drawstring tunnels by stitching at 1 mm from the fold. Continued in one go along the top edge of that cutout in the center, and continued again for the second half of the tunnel. Then finished the small rectangle of the cutout by stitching the sides and lower edge. I thought I had measured my zipper correctly, but I suddenly noticed it was a bit too long. Didn't really bother figuring out what happened. It was a spiral zip, so I just went straight into shortening it. Now that it was the right length, I folded the top ends of the tape away, stitched that in place, and attached the zipper with 1 cm seam allowance. Then flipped it over to secure the tape with 2 lines of top stitching. One a few millimeters from the ditch on the right side, and the other a few millimeters from the edge of the tape on the wrong side, resulting in this. This is the moment I actually realized what happened with that zipper length. I added these cutouts in the middle and on the zipper side. Whereas the Edelrid bag only has them in the middle, and so do my sketches. Maybe I shouldn't have worked on autopilot, just winging it and ignoring my sketches the entire time, but at least it explained why my zipper was suddenly too short. And because of this, I wasn't able to secure the ends of my drawstrings in the stitching of the zipper anymore. So instead, I just tied a small knot and stitched it to the end of the tunnel over here. Bit of a weird construction, but it's functional, so who cares? The last thing I added were 2 small hang loops on either side, so you can hang the bag from your anchor while belaying your climbing partner. And the climbers among you might recognize the logo and colors of these loops. These are some old straps from a pair of La Sportiva Solution climbing shoes, which I received once from the shoemaker where I always get my climbing shoes resold. Attach these loops with a simple box stitch, going over each line twice for extra security. And this is the final thing. I could already tell quite early on that it was going to be too small for our rope, so I didn't bother adding the patch pocket on this version. But the next one will include a patch pocket, of course, which doubles as the pouch so you can hang it from your harness when not in use. While I was working on this rope bag, I was already thinking ahead of what I was gonna do with bag 3 from the original plan of 3 bags in this video. It was going to be a camera pouch. I already had a pattern, but I didn't have anything else planned in terms of fabrics or other materials. I grabbed these shorter rope cutoffs to film this intro shot, just so I didn't have to get our heavy full-length rope out, only to film a single shot. I was saving these rope cutoffs for any future project. Nothing planned, I just didn't have any inspiration yet for what to make with them. But something clicked as soon as I saw those rope cutoffs next to the camera when I was filming that intro shot. It was my dopamine project, so more on that in the next video, because I haven't finished it yet. I turned it into a bit of a construction experiment and have yet to figure out a couple of issues that came up and honestly made me never want to sew with climbing ropes ever again. So to be continued, and I also can't wait until my next video to see what I come up with, because no plan at the moment. See you then?